Hey everybody, so it's been a while. I always kind of suck with these videos. I'm always kind of like, what should I talk about? I don't really know. But I have received a couple of comments in my videos, so I figured I'd go ahead and I would address some of those questions first. So someone was talking about whether or not I would recommend homestay versus the dorm. With that, it really depends on what you're looking for and how long you're planning on being here for. The homestay you can only do for 1 semester. So if you're looking at being here multiple semesters, I would recommend it. It's a little harder, I think, personally to get into after you're already here, because you already have all your paperwork in, and they generally kind of stick with whatever you have unless you change it. Not that it can't be done. I would just recommend, if you're going to do it, do your first semester. Plus, once you've been here for 1 semester, you're really going to want to have the freedom to be able to kind of go out and do your own thing. And if you are in a homestay, then you do have to abide by that family's rules. That means that the curfews and things are going to be a lot stricter than you're going to find with the dorms. So there's going to be a lot more, rules and things that you're going to have to follow. You're going to have probably a lot more chores you have to worry about. So it's really something you have to take into consideration depending on what you're wanting to do while you're here. In the dorms, it really depends on which dorm you wind up in. Personally, in my dorm, we weren't supposed to be out after, so it's been like a year now. I think it was after like 11. But the dorm manager never actually paid any attention, so it was really kind of like, as long as you're not disturbing anybody, you can kind of do whatever you want, sort of thing. However, I understand that there are some newer dorms that KCP's acquired recently. I don't know if that means that they're brand new or they're just new to KCP. And I've never actually seen them. So generally with the dorms, you can't have visitors. Not that that means that it doesn't necessarily happen, but you're not allowed to have them and you'll get in trouble if you're found with them. You can't have alcohol in your room. It doesn't matter how old you are. Also, if you're in the dorms, you do have that curfew. You're going to have, I would say that you have noise restrictions, but you're really going to encounter that anywhere here in Japan because everybody is so close together. If you do the homestay, also if you're in the dorm, your transportation to and from school is covered. So that's all paid for. If you have questions, there's people around you, which can be really convenient. And generally the dorms are going to be more convenient to the school in terms of your commute. If you do the homestay, you could really wind up anywhere in Tokyo or just outside Tokyo, so your commute could be quite long. Now, if you do the homestay, then obviously breakfast and dinner are covered, lunch is not. From what I've heard from friends that did homestay, a lot of times, your family will get very close with you. They'll take you out on trips and, really do everything that they can to help you out, and it seems to be a really great experience. So if you have the opportunity, I would recommend it. It is more expensive to do the homestay. If you want the freedom, then it's not going to be a good option for you, if you don't want to have to be home, say, by 7 or 8 every night to have dinner with the family. It is going to be more strict. It's basically going to be you leave class and you head home sort of thing during the week. And then, obviously, on the weekend, you would still have those hours that you have to keep. Because while you're doing homestay, it's like a member of the family, so you got rules. So it's really a question of if you want that full immersion experience, or if you want your freedom, if you want time, no time. It's it really just kind of depends on the individual person. Someone wanted to know as far as cost for the commute. It really just depends on where your family is at. There's really no way to know, so it's kind of hard to say what the cost would be for your commute to and from school. If you have a visa, then you can go ahead and get a student commuter pass, which is much cheaper than the regular commuter pass. Since I kind of did the sketchier, I didn't get the visa, hop in and out, which is not advisable. Because you may not be able to, they may not let you back in the country. We need to get back in at some point. But if you get the visa, you can get the student commuter pass. If you don't have a visa, you can still get a regular commuter pass, and it will still be discounted, but it won't be as much of a discount. It'll probably be at least a third, if not twice as expensive versus the student pass. But still cheaper than buying your ticket every day or just using your Pasmo card. Really, as far as the cost, it just depends on where your family is at, and you won't know where your family is at until you're already here. There's no way to prepare for it. You could be, in a convenient location where you jump, say, on Marunouchi line and it takes you straight there, in which case you're probably looking at 170 yen one way. Or you could have a couple of transfers and you could be looking at $5 one way, if I 500 yen. So, I mean, it really just depends on where your family is at. There's really no way to predict it. Let's see, further than that, as far as further expenses, as far as food, obviously if you're doing the homestay, you don't have to worry about it so much. I have to worry about covering as your lunches. And then I think weekend meals as well, I think you have to take care of. Obviously the dorm, covering all your meals. But generally the dorms are close to konbini and super and stuff, so you will have convenient locations you can go to buy food. The cost for that, I mean, once again, it really just depends on you. I mean, you can find stuff cheap, you can find stuff expensive. It depends on where you buy it and what you're buying and how much of it you're buying. So I can't really give you a good idea on cost. It also depends on how much you eat out. Some people eat out every night, and some people cook every night and they never eat out. And obviously the costs are much different depending on what you do. So you just have to kind of think about yourself and what sort of food you're looking at eating. Like, if you have more specific questions about that, like as far as costs for food here, let me know. And I'll message you back and I'll let you know, like, say, like the cost for different types of meat, fruit, vegetables, like random stuff and stuff you can find here. For instance, cereal. I hope you like granola or Frosted Flakes. That's what they got. Like, apparently they have a cheesecake Frosted Flake, not really Frosted Flakes, but they're pretty much Frosted Flakes, cereal flavor that just came out. I have yet to see it, but apparently it's here. Don't know how that would taste. I generally just eat the granola. But so if you're a big cereal person, you might want to pack some in your suitcase, because unless you're going to be able to get onto base, you can't really get it here. Outside of that, someone had asked if it was recommended that I get the Japanese Encephalitis Vaccine before I came, and it was not. From what I understand with that vaccine, well, it's really only going to be necessary if you're planning on going into rural parts of Japan. If you're staying in Tokyo, you don't need to worry about it. As for me, as a poor student, I can't afford to do traveling outside of Tokyo. I'm not going anywhere. I did not need it. If you're staying in Tokyo, or like only going to like Kyoto or, you know, other big cities, you don't got to worry about it either. But I mean, even with that, as part of the application process, you have to get a physical. Like, you know, you have to have your doctor sign that paper. If you need anything, your doctor will tell you. They will know and they will let you know. Feel free to ask them while you're there if you feel like they're not going to offer the information to you. But you really don't need to worry about that. Let's see. I think that was most of the questions that I had for now. Outside of that, some additional information. So I'm in level 4 now. All of the levels are taught a little bit differently. Once again, levels 1 and 2 are the only levels in which you get grammar notes. So everything else, you know, after that is on your own. Now, most of level 3, you can still use the grammar book that you can purchase to accompany your textbook if you feel like you need it. They have that available. They also have a workbook that will cover you up through about like halfway through level 3, maybe a little bit further than halfway, depending on how your class moves. So you have that available. Level 4, you don't have that. It's all taught in Japanese, all the grammar's in Japanese. A resource that I found helpful, if you go into Google and just type in JLPT and then the grammar form, there's Japanese tests for you, something like that, and they just do a real quick rundown of what the grammar comes into. It doesn't cover all of the grammar that you encounter on level 4. There are some parts of the grammar that are strictly grammar. It's just more the way in which they're used. And in my experience, you can't find information generally on those online. But if you ask your teachers, they'll give you more information. And really, in the class, they usually do a very good job of explaining it. I'm just a very literal person, so I like to know, like, literal, like, this is pretty much exactly what it means. It helps me to remember it. You may or may not need that, but the class really does perfectly fine on providing you with all the information that you need. There's plenty of examples. You have books that give it to you at the beginning if you're, you know, an American student or in the U.S. program. Here in this winter semester, we did Setsubon. So we went ahead and we went out to the temple and we got to celebrate that. And most of the levels got to, I don't know that levels 1 and 2 got to go, but I know levels 3 up did. But it was different temples for the morning classes versus the afternoon classes, from what I understand from speaking with one of my friends that was in morning classes. Let's see, another thing. Apparently in the winter semesters, there's some sort of mass class trip that everybody goes and does together. Which isn't so that unusual, just more apparently the winter events are usually bigger. This winter event is not very big. We're all going to an aquarium. Woo! It should still be fun. But apparently the usual trip is to Fuji-Q or Disneyland, so I was a little disappointed when I heard that it was not one of those two. One day, I will get to one of those places. But, so there is that. Let's see anything else that you might need to know. Oh, level 4 works a little bit different as far as kanji. Level 4, you have a kanji test every morning in class over the kanji learned the day before, and you have a big kanji test every week. You have a grammar test every other week. Generally is the way that it goes. Also in level 4 up, you have special studies courses that you have to take. Basically, you choose if you want to take the one that's aimed at doing well in the JLPT or the one aimed at doing well in the EJU, which from what I understand is basically the test that prepares you to enter into Japanese university. So classes are pretty evenly divided on who picks what, and you can mix and match if you want. There's a chokai, so like a listening portion, and then on Thursdays you have sakubun, which is writing portion, where you're writing essays. It's so much fun. The prompts usually suck. But it really just kind of depends. Sometimes they're interesting. So far it seems like they grade them pretty easy. Like I thought our first essay was really not a good prompt. We were writing about winter things, and their format for it was really odd. Like it wasn't even an essay, it was just disconnected paragraphs. But anyway, so I think that's all for now. I'm reaching the limit on the time that I can put in, so I'll leave you with this, and I hope that it helps. Once again, if you have any other questions about anything, just let me know, and I'll do the best I can to provide you with answers on anything you can think of. Even outside of Japanese things or Japan things, and I'll do my best. But anyway, I hope you all have a great night. It's 1:41 a.m. here, and I'll talk to you all again later. Bye.